Hello and welcome back after a very long hiatus to the Make Room Show. I'm so glad you're here today, and I am sitting here with my good friend Lori Beth Auldridge, part of the Focus Retreat, my friend, a fellow coach, the owner and founder of Elevating Motherhood. And yeah, thanks for being part of this, Lori Beth, because I haven't been on here in quite some time.
I understand. I have been on hiatus from my podcast as well for a variety of reasons, and I'm finally in a place where I don't feel guilty about that. I mean, it's part of the reason we have our own shows, right? So that we can do what it is we need to do. To me, it's not us not doing our shows, it's us setting the example for other women who also do their own thing, who also run their own businesses, and say, hey, you do not have to post every week at the same time, on the same day, all the time in order to be successful. Like, I think there are a lot of us who've started to realize that's kind of a joke. And there might be some truth or some algorithm math to it or whatever. And also, I think what women want to see is, wow, we're actually real, we're human, we have limitations. We also have families, we also have dreams and limited amounts of time, if you will. I mean, we all have the same amount of time, but what are we doing with it? So you and we took a hiatus. I would like to call it a reflection time where we sorted things out. And now we're back to share with people what that was all about.
Yes, yes. I love what you just said. It's like we don't have to constantly do everything every single week. And that's why we're in business for ourselves, to do it at our own pace. I
Mhm.
also think that a big part of our businesses and our brand is our own self journey and sharing that journey. And that's what happens nowadays with platforms like a podcast, where you can't really go through something and feel like you don't want it to share it because you see the benefits and the lessons you've learned, and you want other women to see those benefits and lessons. And so
Mhm.
if you are listening to the show right now and didn't listen to my last episode, you'll know a little bit less about what we're talking about. So make sure you listen to that. But for those of you that were listening to that episode, I talked about how I was in a car accident on April Fool's Day, April 1st. And it just set something off in me that I can't even explain. A lot of it was just very fear based. I will say that, number one. I'm not one to live in fear like that, and to experience for the last 7 weeks of living in fear really made me so empathetic to people that are going through that. I don't think I can ever not have empathy for that anymore. Things that I never thought I would experience, I've been experiencing. Things like panic attacks and PTSD and anxiety, and things that I thought didn't I wouldn't ever have to deal with, to be honest. And so super scary. And I'll do another separate show on the details of what it's been going through. But I really wanted Lori Beth, I wanted you to come on because you've walked through this with me, and you know that it was a big deal and how much pause I've had to take. And so I feel like this is a great day to just restart the podcast and get back out there, because I've definitely been living in my cocoon and kind
Mhm.
of not wanting to be so in the public as I normally am. And so today kind of is like we're going to step into like the shallow water and start to get back into it.
Love it so much. I actually love hearing you talk about it and you share about it and be vulnerable about it because it just goes to show what a thought leader you are and what a compassionate person you are. So you have already turned the corner from fear and saying, okay, I had this experience, super negative. I've got fear, I've got trauma, I've got things that I never thought I'd be going through. And you're coming out the other side of it. You're actually still in it coming out the other side of it. The light is there at the end of the tunnel. And you're saying, how can I use this to show up more compassionately for other people? How can I use these learning experiences to help others too and talk about it? And, I feel like the majority of the world doesn't step out and say, here's my deepest, darkest times. Here's my moments of like extreme stuff. Like, I'd like to share it with you. And so I just want to say thank you for doing that because it helps those who maybe aren't willing to share or be as vulnerable or open up about it. you go first. You're going first in all of that process and showing how powerful it is to share that with others, because we can count it all joy, even the trials and tribulations. I mean, we're told that. And I wouldn't say joy in the happy-go-lucky, let's have a party sense, Jennifer was in a car accident, woo,
Mm.
party. It's not that kind of joy. It's
Yeah.
not that kind of joy. It's understanding that there are lessons in it for us that extend beyond ourselves, and bringing other people into that who have also experienced that and aren't sure how to talk about it, or maybe are still in the process of processing it.
Mhm.
It's very helpful and very compassionate of you to share. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thanks, friend. Thank you. It's, I think one belief that's helped me through this is that I do truly believe that life happens for me. I don't ever look at anything and think, oh, why me? Or feel like I'm a victim. The whole time, as much as I hated what I was experiencing and as much fear as it was evoking inside of me, I still knew that deep down there was a bigger reason for it happening and that I would be able to put the pieces together someday. I did mention in the last podcast that I was going on a hiatus and I was leaving for Florida and I was going to hope and pray for clarity, and I still have not gotten it. I'm starting to see a little bit of maybe how I'm going to use this or what's all the purpose for this experience I've had to live through, but I'm still waiting for the full clarity. And what I have learned so far is that, when it comes to, like you said at the beginning of the show, taking a break from our podcast, for me, it was because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And as coaches, we're constantly encouraging and educating and helping others along their journey. And I knew right away that I needed to shut it down and heal myself first in order to ever become back to being a good coach. I just knew it. I knew that I was not in that right frame of mind. And I knew, and I know if coaches that are listening could probably relate to this. I was coaching a woman probably a week later, and I walked into this coffee shop for the appointment. And she was like, she gave me a funny look. And it was one of my long-term clients that knows me pretty well. And she kind of said, wow, you look very frazzled. And I was just like, yeah, I'm very frazzled. I'm like, I had a near death experience and I'm trying to act like it never happened. And I'm trying to like still show up to all my responsibilities. But as I was sitting there coaching with her, I felt like a complete fraud because I was sitting there thinking, I am not in the frame of mind to coach anybody. Like how you can go from knowing you're really good at your job to all of a sudden feeling like you're a fraud is interesting, but it was just the experience of knowing that I had to put myself first and take care of myself and heal myself. And so that's when I decided, you know what? You're not doing anybody any good, including yourself, by pushing through this. You're going to go to Florida. You're going to take a break. You're going to be in your happy place. And that's what I did. And then it just dragged on. I was planning on coming back to the podcast a couple weeks later, but I just kept feeling like I'm not ready. I want to stay, like, I wanted to conserve my energy. You ever feel
Mhm.
like that where you just want to like conserve your energy and you only want to give it to your people? You really don't want to give it past that.
It's that empty cup analogy you're talking about, where we are starting to realize our cup got drained,
Mhm.
like all in one day. It fell over and we've got barely anything left. And so we're like trying to conserve it because we're not 100% sure how it is we're going to fill it from that moment on, especially when the demands don't stop. Like the pouring out demands do not stop, either with business or family or anything like that. So, yeah, I totally get the conserving energy thing. It's interesting because I have a couple of thoughts about what you said. One was, I'm all like, as your friend, I'm like, oh, honey, you're not a fraud. It's just that imposter syndrome that comes
Yeah.
in. And I was actually thinking, uh, it's so easy for people to still glean from you, even when we are in the process of learning. I mean, we would not be good coaches if we did not continue to have moments that challenge us. So it almost kind of feels like sometimes as coaches, I think what sets us apart and the thing that I've really made peace with, because before I didn't really understand what coaching was. I'm like, who are these coaches? What is it? And now I get it. I get it. It feels like we're like, one step ahead, or like we're experiencing these different things and we're like we have volunteered to go first. I feel
Yeah.
like we're more like tributes. than anything else. Well, I volunteer as tribute. I'll go first, you know, and we forge ahead and then and help people as they are also along these paths because so many of us have different lessons. So for me, she was gleaning from you and learning from you based on things you'd already learned while you were also showing up and learning more. And
Mhm.
that's a really hard moment. And that's where we're watching the levels in our cup really closely. And it can make us feel like, oh my gosh, if this spills over one more time, that's it for me. I'm going to have to be done for a while. So I totally get that. It's because I was praying for you during that time too, and still am. I mean, that's what friends do for one another. This is going to sound really random. You'll have to track with me. Chris and I were watching the Paul Simon documentary last night. And in it, he was talking about how in this latest album, he was in a season of patience. And so the song was coming to him, this one song was coming to him very, very, very slowly. And anytime he tried to force it or come up with lyrics that really weren't working, everything would just shut down and stop. And so I thought that was really interesting because I think the thing I've been missing out on praying for you and also praying for other people who are starting to realize outside of hustle culture and this thing we call real life, everything is much slower than we thought. God's timing is so much slower than we thought. I mean, I feel like that's my big lesson right now is just trusting God's timing. And as a result, I feel like some days I'm sitting around going, is today the day? Like, can we
Yep.
just go ahead now or what? Or
Yep.
are we still waiting? We're still waiting. So I think the thing I'm going to shift in my prayers for you is praying for patience, you know, for that clarity,
Mhm.
because I think that is probably the hardest part sometimes in waiting and trusting God's timing is that it's not happening on our timing.
Yeah,
So I
very
just thought that was
much.
interesting. Hmm.
Very true. And it's funny because it's not my personality to be patient, and it's my personality to be a doer.
I
And
understand that.
also, I'm really trying to learn to not be so much in my masculine energy because
Uh,
I was literally thinking about this so much lately that I have become, with every business I've added on and every project and every level of responsibility, I have become more and more masculine aligned with my energy. And if I think back before I had all this, I was much more in my feminine. And now I have this like really weird, crazy, like craving to get back to my feminine.
mhm. Makes
Whether it be like just
mhm.
like this year, just enjoying making my flower pots and like a couple days ago I went and bought more indoor plants and like this that's so feminine, like the nurturing, like your little and I said to Josh, I was joking around, they were on the counter and I was going to repot them. I was like, here's my new babies. It's like
Awesome.
that's such a feminine thing to be like, I want to nurture these plants. I want to watch them grow. And it's like, and my son being, Bryson being home from college, and now we have another boy that needed a place to stay living with us. And it's like, I'm like enjoying doing his laundry because he's not here all the time and like mothering him and like nurturing him because I know when you're in college, you need to come home and decompress and you need your mom to take care of you because it's a big world with a lot of pressure. And it's like that feels good. But I did
Mhm.
not know, Lori Beth, that I was doing that so much. I didn't know I needed it. I didn't know I was living in my masculine so much. I had literally no clue.
I feel that even to a point of, I mean, some people would say it's on a superficial level, but I want to wear dangly earrings again. You
Mhm.
know, my son is old enough now. I think it's okay for me to move back into my dangly earrings, curling my hair, wearing my hair down, wearing more feminine stuff rather than just like constant farm clothes. There's nothing wrong with it, but at some point, I really want to get out of my clothes that you can't tell are whether it's my husband's clothes or my clothes. Like I really want to wear my clothes. I want to make a nail appointment. I want to make a hair appointment. I want to take more care of myself and take more care in how it is I present myself. And I think that there's some men that do that, but I would say it's a more feminine feature to do that. So I feel what it is you're saying about the masculine and feminine energy because the flow and rhythm of the feminine energy is so different than masculine energy. And I know that many people have talked about this before, but that 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, living for the weekends, like it's very masculine. And
Mhm.
we are more ebb and flow throughout the month. And I think by design. So I feel you on that one as I
Yeah.
wear my frilly thing today.
Which looks awesome. I love that shirt on you. I feel like though you are pretty good at flow.
Mm,
And like for those of you that don't know, Lori Beth and Chris live on a farm in Idaho and we used to live in Maui. So it's been a major lifestyle change. We've talked about it before, but you're adding animals. It seems like
daily.
yeah, you're feeling more like grounded in that lifestyle and you're okay with it. And I feel like, especially even just the seasons and the life circle of life that you're going through with your kids, it feels like you're managing flow well. Do you feel like
Thank
that?
Yeah, thank you. It's a process and it's an everyday commitment to not thinking that everything is hard.
Right.
People are like, how do you do it all? I'm like, well, I don't do it all and I don't do it all well all the time, but I try to manage my perspective coming to the table with it. So it's kind of like the fear stuff with you, like, and working through trauma and all of that. It's hard work. And there's other thoughts beyond that, right? There's lessons to be learned and there's joy in it too. So for me, it's like, okay, we have 9 kittens now. What are we going to do with them? How are we going to manage this? Because 9 kittens turns into 9 cats. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, what have we done? What's going on? My daughter looked at me and said, after watching the babies be born, she goes, Mom, this is the best day of my life. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, it's worth every moment. So, like, all the work that happens after that, that's why we're doing this, so that my
Mhm.
kids understand life and death, birth and death, nurturing animals, like finding the balance between letting them do their thing and also intervening, not feeling like we have all the answers, but also needing to come to the table with ideas. I mean, there's just so many lessons in it. There's farm management, budgeting, all the things. We're breeding the Holland Lops right now, and it's like, oh my gosh, do you even understand how many bunnies you could potentially have? Yes, we do. And it's for 4-H. And is it a lot of work? Yes, it is. And it's a lot of joy. And it's something that we have decided that we want to do. So since it's our decision, that I guess that's the difference between your situation and mine. That was not your decision to
Right.
be in, this is our decision. And the world is telling us everything has to be hard. Homeschooling is too hard. You can't do it. Parenting is too hard. You can't even. Marriage is too hard. There always has to be drama. There always has to be trouble. There always has to be chaos. And that's a lie. That's a
Yeah.
lie. It's like a distraction from actually the joy and the happiness that can happen. It does take us really being intentional and not seeing everything as a drain and deciding whether or not this is the right thing for us in this season. And something I've learned from you is actually, time blocking, time management sort of things. And how that works into my flow is that I realize that certain things need to be done. And I will leave the dishes or leave the homeschool or leave the taxes or leave whatever it is that needs to be done without guilt. And I go and we cleaned out the bunny hutch, to prepare for the new set of babies. On the calendar, you'd be so proud, Jennifer. On the calendar for this Saturday is chicken day. And so we are not tackling the whole barn on one day. I'm also not hiring it out, although I do sometimes, not the barn, but, other things in business and life. But that is on the calendar for Saturday. That's what we're going to do. But if we were to do it all at once, it would be completely overwhelming.
Yeah.
If I was to homeschool and clean out the barn all on the same day and do the business and do the taxes and do the dishes and cook all the meals from scratch, I would be exhausted. So chances are we're probably going to have pizza on Saturday.
Mhm.
Chances are, we're going to get partway through and then we're going to find that we have a hitch that we have to deal with. And I could go into that and think, oh my gosh, see, I had it on the calendar. It was so terrible that it didn't get done. Or I could just go with the flow
Mhm.
and meet the challenges as they arise and that comes from being present in the moment.
Yes.
And I don't do that well all the time, but it's what I aim for. So instead of aiming for, this is so hard, I can't do this, or being envious of other people that it seems like, they have it all together, I can do it. I just try to stay present with my family and our flow and meet things as they arise. Granted, with 4 children and a farm and businesses and all the things, some days the hurdles are maddening, maddening, maddening. But that's when it's important to have your prayer warrior friends and also friends with really healthy perspectives who can help you see the bigger picture so that you don't get caught literally in the chicken poop.
Yes. We don't want to get caught in the chicken poop.
We do not. You're welcome. You can still say it's a clean episode.
Ah, it's interesting though, because I feel like as business owners, we're, have you, this is the thing that just hit me right now, Lori Beth, is like, we feel like we've gotten away from just actually living in the present moment and feeling like we have to document the present moment in
Uh-huh.
order to like share that on social media. And like, it has taken away the joy of the present moment for me. And so what is interesting is, I was down and I've been feeling this for a while, but when I definitely went on the hiatus, there was so many magical moments in the midst of terrible days that I could have documented, and the old me would have been all over Instagram. And I was just like, nah, I just want it for me.
Mhm.
And I realized that there's probably so many women out there listening to this right now and are like, yeah, I feel that way, because you and I did talk about this. And I had shared a little bit about it on the last episode about the permission slip. When I said to you, I just feel like I want to take a break from everything. I can't keep showing up and like being out there with all the stuff and keeping up with social media and keeping up with businesses and emails and podcasts. And I just was like tired. And you were
Mhm.
like, here's a permission slip. And I've stuck with it, because the bottom line is like, what exactly are we doing all this for if we're not having fun doing it? And if I don't feel like making a reel out of photos of a weekend I spent that was magical, and I just am like, who cares if anyone sees it? I lived it. Then I guarantee there's a massive shift going on with a lot of people in our shoes. I
Mhm.
guarantee it. We're tired of keeping up at this level with the
Mhm.
social media. It's
Mhm.
just too much. And if you're having to think about how is this going to, translate to a reel, then are you actually as present as you could be?
Mhm. Like we're all like part-time videographers or something.
Hmm.
Totally. I
Yeah.
mean, I love my life, and it's not everyone needs to be with me in every moment of my life for sure. We have had magical RV trips and like we have had massive adventures, beautiful photographs, beautiful videos, times with our kids. And as I'm recording it, I'm thinking, oh, this would be great for Instagram, or oh, I can show people about road schooling and what homeschooling in an RV looks like. And like, oh, this is national park. It's so epic. And yeah, no, no, you guys, people are like, you went to Glacier? And I'm like, yes, I did. And they're like, well, we didn't see it. Well, I don't have to share it with you, you
Yeah.
know?
I was
I
too
do.
busy living it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I will say in that moment though, I was recording some things thinking I would share it. And
Right.
I just didn't get around to it. And in this hustle culture that expects you to share everything, it results in feelings of like, oh man, I'm just being lazy by not sharing it. No, I'm not. I'm just prioritizing my family and being present. I'm prioritizing my flow. I'm prioritizing my mental health. And yeah, I was thinking about our to-do list this morning. Your to-do list, my to-do list, the retreat to-do list, like
Mhm.
the podcast to-do list, all of this stuff. And then I was also thinking about all the things that come at us throughout the day too, like, needing to grocery shop, or like, a family or a neighbor or friend or some or spouse complaining to you. And now you're going to have to like do a little repair on that relationship. You have to budget, you have to like make all of these
Yeah.
different changes. And so our energy, I mean, going back to that cup analogy, oh my gosh, it just seems like we've all started to realize that maybe we're running on empty.
Hmm.
And we're tired of doing that.
Hmm.
And once you step out of that hustle culture and that go, go, go pace, you start to feel lazy when you're just being normal.
Yes, yeah, you start to feel lazy, like you're doing something wrong, or you're
Yeah.
not going to meet the mark, or you're not going to get that level of sales in your business this month, or your business is going to grow because you're sitting there reading a book on the porch and enjoying the moment. What has happened to our society that we
What
feel
has
this way?
happened to our society? I feel like sometimes I'm like, does anyone want to come over and just play cards? are like, things that my grandma's generation did, right? They were having a good time just doing the simple things. Or my favorite memories from my childhood are just that, reading books,
Mhm.
being outside, playing cards with my family, sitting on my grandma's porch, on her porch swing, and just talking to her about the hummingbirds that were buzzing by. Favorite core memories, some of the
Yeah.
best moments of my life, not not recorded on Instagram, not
Yeah.
no photos
So
to prove that I did that.
it makes me want to like figure this out. Like what what is this telling us? You know what I mean? Because it's literally gotten to the point where the things that used to bring us joy, like the little things that would bring us joy, like buying, going to Home Depot and repotting some indoor plants, like that brought me
Oh,
so
yeah.
much joy. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was like FaceTiming my daughter last night going, look at this one and look at this one. She's like, oh my God, it's so cute.
Awesome.
Like the silliest things. It's like, what happened to us where we feel like, okay, you can do that, but you better document it and make something out of it in order for it to count. Then it's perfectly fine because look at how many people are watching TikTok after TikTok of planting or organizing or any other hobby in the world. As long as you make it content, then it's worth doing. But what about the content related to contentment? Like,
Uh-huh.
I
Oh,
want more contentment and I want less content.
okay. So funny you mentioned the hobbies, Jennifer, because I feel like people don't have hobbies anymore. They have interests, and their true hobby is scrolling things
Yes.
that they're
Like,
interested in.
yeah, because if it's your hobby, you're spending time on it, not just
100%.
thinking about it. You're actually,
Right.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're
Uh-huh.
watching other people do
Mhm.
their hobbies.
You're wearing someone else's jersey. Did we ever talk about that? Someone
No,
told me that one time,
no. What is that?
like wearing other people's jerseys. There's the men like on sports teams, like the men who go out and play football and do the stuff on the field. And then there are the men that wear the name of another man on their back, like jersey
Yes.
fans kind of thing.
Yes.
And it's like, which man do you want to be? The man who
Yeah.
goes out there and does it and inspires other people, or the man who wears another man's name on your
That's
back?
interesting.
And I was like, ooh, I mean, it's one thing to like have your kid's name on your back, I'm
Right.
not talking about the moms in the stands. That's totally different. But it's the man thing. It's the masculine energy. And man was making this point. And I thought, oh, I feel the same way about my life. I don't want to be just a fan of somebody else's. I want to be, if I'm I have tons of people I admire. Sally Clarkson, Dorinda Wilson, like so many different people, Amy, like there's so many people that I admire and glean from, and I'm waving your flag and I'm on your team and I'm cheering for you. But I'm not going to wear someone else's name on my back. I'm going to be
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah. I
and I'm
love
going
that.
to show up the best way I can in my life. And I want to have actual hobbies, not just watching other people's hobbies. If
Mhm.
I am scrolling, which I do, and right now I'm kind of in that feminine energy thing, my interest of the moment is outfits that look good on curvy women, like summer curvy women outfits. And I'm like, show me what you got. Show me what you
Mhm.
got. And I've changed the way that I dress, the last couple of weeks. So I'm not just looking at it and wearing my pajamas. I'm actually looking at my closet and saying, this works, this doesn't.
Mhm.
Let's take that out. Oh, you'd be so proud, Jennifer, the organization stuff. I'm like, I'm going to sell that because that's not serving me anymore.
Yes.
And now I want to go this style. And I'm actually taking that content and applying it to my life. And like putting together outfits is like might be a short-term hobby, but it is.
Mhm.
I totally feel you on the planting. I just bought 5 plants last night and a bag of soil, and I'm ready for today's project. After we're done, like I
Yep.
too am going to get great joy from that. And I'm probably not going to film it. I'm just going to do it because tending to plants is definitely a hobby of mine. Growing our own food, is it a hobby? Is it a necessity? I think it's both,
Yeah.
but it's what I'm going to spend my time on today. And I'm not going to feel guilty about the dishes in the sink while I'm doing that.
Mhm.
That's a permission slip that I've gotten from you, is that you don't have to have the most high efficiency thing happening in your house in order to stop and do something that you enjoy. So I used to be like, oh my gosh, I'm failing if I don't have the kids set up with a homeschool task while both my washing machines are going, while the dishwasher is going, while, all these wheels are spinning. Okay, now that I'm doing five things at once, maybe I could stop
Right.
and put the plants in the ground. No, no, I can just stop and put the plants in the ground and say, this is what I'm doing right now. It's serving me, it's serving my family, it's filling me up.
Yeah.
It's
It
such a breath of fresh air.
it is. And I hope that it inspires other women that are listening to do that, especially during the summer where summer is
Mhm,
short and fleeting and we want it to be memorable with the kids. We want to enjoy the nice weather. We want to take the walks, be outside, feel the sunshine. And so a lot of things can wait until the boring, cold, rainy winter days. You know what I mean? We can just
mhm,
put it on hold. We don't have to tackle it all right now. I
mhm,
think that that's what I want to make sure my summer is about and just, enjoying it and being present. It's interesting because, we are the hosts of the focus retreat that then happens in September. So if you're interested, you can go to thefocusretreat.com. It's our second annual. But that is what we're really saying is we're giving ourselves permission to stop and focus on what we want and focus on one task at a time rather than feeling like you had to do five chores in the same time frame.
right.
That you can literally just because if you try to cram it all in, you can't enjoy. Like if you are trying to feed the kids, feed the kittens, and plant your plants today, you're not going to enjoy planting your plants. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
At the
you're
same
actually
time, yeah.
robbing yourself of
Yeah.
joy and happiness by how you're managing your time.
100%. I love that
Mhm.
point. Such a good point. And the retreat is awesome for this because it gives us time to reflect. It gives us time to sit down with other women, other prayerful women who get it, who, we all have our issues, things we're working through. You with your car accident, us with like transitioning careers and houses and climates and all the things at the same time and trying to navigate all of that. There are women who have issues in their business, but there are some who have issues in their marriage or their homeschool or their parenting or their friendships or their, extended family, things like that. We all have these things that we're trying to work through. And we're trying to show up and do it. And how can we do it? Well, we have to take a pause and we
Mhm.
have to say, I've been running on empty for a while and I'm going to go away for a couple days. I'm going to go talk with these other women and learn from them and be with them. And I'm going to pause and I'm going to reflect and I'm actually going to take the time to think about what's happening in my life and any changes that I need to make. But the thing that makes our retreat different is that we help you implement it.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
not just thinking about it and spinning your wheels in the mud about it because you're still in the mud at the end. We're not taking a fire hose and trying to get you out of the mud. We're
Right.
like encouraging you and giving you tools and saying, okay, we've got it out of the mud. Now, how are we going to keep moving forward? And so then just taking the time to reflect, but then implement. It's kind of like the scrolling thing I was talking about. Are you scrolling just to scroll, just to look because you have interests, or are you trying to make those
Right.
actionable and deepen your hobby? Because I think that is also the difference with social media and scrolling and things like that is, are you deepening your hobby? Are you deepening your work that you're doing? Or are you just zoning out? Are you just
Yeah.
entertaining yourself? Are you just looking at interests rather than living?
Yes. So good. I can't wait for it myself. And
I
I love
know.
that we
Me
are
too.
this year are really going to be putting a plan into action. So you're not just going to another event, getting hyped up and excited with a bunch of notes that you do nothing with. We're actually going to lay out the plan so they can
Mhm.
walk away with it and
Mm.
based on what they want to do in their life. So I think it's amazing and I'm so excited for it. And it's
Woo.
going to be so fun. So, well, this was really good. I just love you to pieces. And I just thank you for
Kiddo.
your prayers and for, being a good friend to me during this time and just going through life together. I think it's
Mhm.
awesome.
Oh, it's such a gift. You are such a gift, Jennifer. I really appreciate you.
I do. I appreciate you too. And thank you to everyone listening. We love you and appreciate you. And if
Mm.
you're going through a similar situation, then feel free to reach out to me, leave a review if this helped, share it with a friend. If it was something that benefited you, we would appreciate that. And until next time, hopefully it won't be such a long hiatus. All right. Take care.